All right, hello everyone. We're live. I'm very pleased today to be joined by Veganika. Now, Veganika reached out to me recently because me and Patricia Nonis did a pretty juicy live stream where we were talking about anti-Israel sentiment within the animal rights movement and how we think that could actually potentially hold back the animal rights movement. Veganika has some points of contention that she would like to come on and debate with me. So we thought, let's do this and see what happens and see what those points of contentions are. Veganika, did you just want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you kind of do on YouTube and stuff?
First thing, is it normal that I hear you twice? I hear you twice.
That shouldn't be normal. Tell us in the comments, guys. Am I like echoing or something? Otherwise,
okay, I think I know. I think I had it also from internet. Okay, I'm still there. Okay, and tell me one thing. One thing before I start. Tell me one thing because I prepared many links, many notes. Is it okay if I have many windows open? Can I check during our conversation things, or can I have many things open so people don't see my screen? Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That's fine. And if you want to put something on the screen, there's
I can also do this.
Button. Yeah, there's a present button at the bottom. So just tell me if you want to show something, and I can have it flash up. I haven't actually prepared anything kind of like that myself, but it's fine if you want to. I don't mind. So, yeah. Do you have any other questions before we start?
No. I wanted to just make sure about this because usually I used to have all my debates on Skype, so this is quite new for me. So hello, welcome. Hello to the audience. And you wanted me to introduce myself, yes? Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
Yeah, please.
Don't know me. So I am a vegan activist from Poland. I've been active for over the last 5 years. I've been uploading videos almost every day, mainly in Polish. So my main channel is in Polish. It's called Boska Cząstka, which can be translated as God's particle, which refers, of course, to Higgs boson. And yeah, actually, I can make a very interesting argument on animal rights based on quantum physics. And this is my approach that I want to make a vegan narrative much wider, much more interesting, engaging. I think that vegans usually use too few arguments, usually the same, they repeat too much. And this is too poor. I think we can make our narrative richer and more interesting. So that's why I use a variety of different approaches and different arguments. And I'm also focused a lot of analyzing religious doctrines and their impact on animals' faith. Not faith, but oh my God, sorry, English is my second language now. I'm a little bit nervous, so the more mistakes I will make. Faith, of course, faith, not faith, but faith, animals' faith. And this also refers to Zionism, because what shocked me in your debate is you said something like anyone who is anti-Zionist is also anti-Semitic, that for you it equals. And you suggested that vegans should be rather supporting Zionism. So this is quite shocking if we analyze what Zionism is about from its roots. What is the origin? What is Zion itself? Why is it such a holy place? What holy is in it? So maybe we might start from this point, or not necessarily.
Well, okay. Well, let me start from that point because there's a correction I have to make there. I've actually made the claim that it does not mean you are anti-Semitic if you oppose Israel. I actually said in the stream that I don't want to make association by guilt kind of fallacies and say that someone is necessarily an anti-Semite just because they believe that Israel is the bad guy. I think more the case that I've been making recently is that many vegans, particularly on the intersectional side, have been pushing unknowingly anti-Semitic tropes. They might not realize it, and it might be unconscious anti-Semitism, but nonetheless, they have been pushing things that show an inconsistency in their logic, I think, that would show that they're pushing anti-Semitic narratives, maybe without realizing it. But just to clarify, I don't think that someone who says Israel's actions are questionable or wrong or immoral necessarily is an anti-Semite at all. That's not actually my my stance.
I think even this claim requires a deeper analysis, because what does it mean to be anti-Semitic? Because for me, this word is kind of slur, which should be banned, the same as what are the bad words for your English, because I'm not English, so I don't have those emotions, like Negro. Is Negro something? Is kind of slur, something, a kind of bad word? Yeah. So I think anti-Semitic should be one of those words, because this word is being used, it has been used over decades or even centuries to silence people who discuss morals. For example, maybe you don't know, but in Poland we had very vivid animal rights movement. We can say this. Of course, it was a bit different than the modern one. It was different time, different understanding, but people were very passionate, like never again. So animal rights movement has never never reborn after the Second World War. Why? Because all those passionate not vegan, but animal rights activists are labeled as anti-Semitic. Why? Because all slaughterhouses belonged to Jews. So everyone who was opposing animal cruelty, who was opposing slaughtering animals, especially ritual killing, everybody is now labeled and remembered by the history as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, so I do agree with you that the term anti-Semite can be used to shut, as a form of anti-intellectualism, to just shut down criticism of anything to do with Judaism, anything like that. So I do agree with you there that the word anti-Semite can just be thrown out there to try and stifle conversation and progress about anything. But that is the same as all these words that get thrown around, right? That's the same with also racist, as Zionist as well. We're seeing in this case, I think there seems to be about 7 to 10 different definitions of what a Zionist even is, and the word has just been thrown around like a buzzword to try and stifle also any kind of criticism, maybe even of Hamas. Also, we're seeing the silliest one that's been thrown around, obviously, right now with regards to this current thing going on in the Middle East is Nazi, given that Israel is a Nazi nightmare and all Nazis are unanimously opposed to the state of Israel, to the existence of Israel. So Nazis are chanting from the river to the sea right now. They're in cahoots with kind of the far left on that. But I agree with you that the word anti-Semite, yes, can be thrown around to stifle conversation in that way. The problem is, so is Nazi, so is Zionist, so are all these kind of terms. But I do think that some claims of anti-Semitism being made, in fact, many claims of anti-Semitism being made against the pro-Palestine side are actually valid.
Okay, so you're laughing at referring the word Nazi to Jews, but let me read one statement, very official statement, which was aired. It was on TV, on a very famous program on TV, and it was said by not any random person, any random Jew, but it was a head of a professor. It was a professor, a head of Institute of Research on Holocaust. And this is her opinion about Polish people. She said, exactly, I quote, "For Poles, death was just biological, natural fact. Death as death. So Poles, like animals, they just die. It's just a biological fact. There is nothing in it. But for the Jews, it was a tragedy, a dramatic experience, metaphysic, an encounter with God. So look how racist, not random Jew, but a prominent Jew, a head of Institute of Research on Holocaust, how racist she is. She said that death means something else for Polish people and Jewish people, that we are just animals. But, and don't you think that even from vegan perspective, we should react? Because if Polish are animals and our death don't matter to them, our death is just nothing. It's just a biological fact. So the more what they think about animals. So death of animals is just biological fact, is number. And it is exactly what Polish animal rights activists from before war were fighting against. They were fighting against commodifying animals by Jews. They were fighting against this specific characteristic for Jews mindset, commodifying the animals. So you know, those guys who are labeled as and remembered by the history as extreme anti-Semites. I read the book recently of this guy who actually caused the ban on ritual slaughter in Poland, and this ban was effective for 60 years. So these guys had a huge sorry, I'm nervous, so I missed the words.
A huge impact? Is that what you're saying?
So huge impact for 60 years. So he saved so many millions of lives. He saved them for extreme sadistic death. And this guy is now remembered as anti-Semite. I read the book from him recently. So I feel so much passion, so much deep love. He was really crying. Like I was crying reading his book. Like I felt his emotion, how tenderly he felt for animals. And he fought against the slaughter. And yeah, those and you know, and we cannot call this veganism because this word didn't exist then. But we wouldn't call this vegetarianism either because we have a different Polish word. And if about diet, those people were usually something which we can describe as raw vegans. And you know, this let's call it veganism. So veganism was in the mainstream of Polish politics. The top Polish politicians were, we would say, vegans, intellectual elites, artists. So we were on a very good path to maybe ban slaughter at all. But all this movement now is described as anti-Semite movement because all slaughterhouses belong to Jews. So that's why we really should be a little bit careful before using this word anti-Semite. Like, what does this mean? What agenda is behind this word?
Well, I don't know about your claim that all slaughterhouses are run by Jews. I'm not sure.
In Poland, yes. Maybe not in Western Poland, but in most part of Poland it was.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, I'm not here to to defend Jewish slaughter practices.
You don't need to know this, of course not. But
yeah,
I wanted to say we should be careful before we use this label anti-Semite.
Yeah, look, well, I mean, any time that I believe that I've been using the anti-Semite accusation in the movement that I have, I've believed that it to be fair and accurate. I'm not someone who just throws the word around to stifle any criticism about anything. You know, you'll see me when it's time for Kaporos and Jews are out in the street slitting the throats of chickens. I'm there condemning that. And any one who's in the comments section saying you vegans are anti-Semites for saying this wrong, I'll shut those idiots down because it's not anti-Semitic. Oh, hold on, I'm hearing me echoing now. I think maybe if you put headphones on, Veganika, do you have headphones?
But I don't have such headphones with, you know, with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I might use, but yeah, actually, I might though. Yeah, maybe, but they will be separate. Or
It
maybe
seems
if I
to have
move
stopped now. It seems to be fine now when I
maybe
talk.
if I sit further.
Yeah, maybe it's just that. Yeah, I could hear my voice maybe echoing just further, but it seems to have stopped now. Yeah, so as I say, I'm not someone who just throws around the word anti-Semite to shut down any criticism of things that Jews do just because those people are Jewish, or shut down any valid criticism of Judaism. I'm an atheist, so naturally I don't agree with the actual, you know, the principle of the religion of Judaism, as it were, because I'm against religion. But when I say anti-Semite, I mean that there is legitimate anti-Semitism in this movement, hatred of Jews, arbitrary, you know, the arbitrary hyper focus on things Jews do while completely ignoring the things that Muslims do, the complete one-siding of this against Jews, the complete silence over certain things that the intersectional mob has supported over the years, which I'm happy to go into as well, that have been anti-Jewish and have shown where their allegiances lie on this. So I believe that I can actually back up my claims of anti-Semitism in this with evidence of how it is. But no, I won't throw the word anti-Semite around just because like someone, you know, there's some criticism over Kaporos or Jewish slaughter or anything like that, because I'm opposed to all that too.
But also to be more accurate, Semites are people of from Middle East, yes. So Semites are Arabs. So Palestine people are Semites, yes. And many of those Jews, it's hard to say whether we can qualify them as Semite. For example, Ben Gurion was Polish, and Netanyahu also have Polish roots. And if they take DNA tests, so they are not related to Middle East. So probably they are not even Semites.
Well, they if they're Jewish, they likely have Ashkenazi ancestry, which I do as well, which is from Central Europe. But before that, Ashkenazi ancestry goes back to the ancient kingdom of Israel and Judah. So they are Semitic people originally. If you're talking about racial Jews,
historically,
yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to talk about Zionism, and first I would like to ask the vegans if they know why Zion is so special for Zionists. Why? Because this is when we talk about this war, when we talk about taking side, supporting one or another side. First, we should really think about how possible that in 20th century one nation is trying to establish their state in the land when there are lots of people, where there is already nation living. So it was obvious for us all, and for them it was obvious that to go there and to establish their own state, they must start from genocide, yes, or ethnic cleansing, or however they are going to solve, however they want to make space for them. So this was obvious that it cannot be a pure situation, that it was obvious that there will be rivers or seas of blood. they had to start from genocide. Yes, the whole process of establishing a new country in already existing country. So the question
hold
is,
on.
yeah,
that's not the pro-Israel side of the argument. That's what you're saying is absolutely not what Israelis trying to defend Israel would say at all. They would say the reverse. So they would say that there was no such country as Palestine. And if you look, there never actually has been a country called Palestine. It's just an area of land named after the Roman term. And it was under British control, and there were Arabs living there, many with roots from like Jordan and Egypt. I think the second most common surname in Palestine, I think, is El Masri, which means the Egyptian. So what the pro-Israel argument was Arabs were living under different people's lands in a region called Palestine. There never was such thing, they're saying, as a Palestinian, as it was. There was just Arabs living in an area of land. So the Ottomans run it. So it went like Roman rule, then Ottoman rule, then British rule. Then after the Holocaust, the British said, we will establish on our own land, on British land, the Jews their own country. The Arabs who were living there, Israelis are claiming, were anti-Semitic and said, no, if you send Jews to this country, we will, to our area, there will, like you said, there will be blood, basically. This is the Israeli claim. And then they're saying that the Jews were were driven out, were persecuted, and they had to defend themselves against all the surrounding Arab nations who wanted them out of the Muslim territories, the land of Allah. So we don't have like we have term for Zionism, which is the alleged Jewish, like a Jewish homeland given by God or something like that, which obviously as an atheist, I wouldn't agree with that form of what's called Zionism. It depends on all these different definitions of Zionism that there are. But ultimately what the pro-Israel side is saying is that it's arbitrary that we have this term Zionism. This term is thrown around, but there isn't this term for Muslim, Islamist territorialism, where we say these are the lands of Allah and Jews are not allowed in here. And this is what Israelis are saying, what's happened, and they've had to defend themselves.
I think you should have listened to yourself when you were saying this. As British, you were saying that, yeah, this was territory run, you use different word, but I don't remember, run by British. It was kind of British territory. So just listen to yourself. Where is England? Elsewhere, yes? So it's elsewhere. So
well, it's
what were the hell British doing there? Well, so you said Arabs were just living there. So they were not, but yeah. let me talk. They were just living there, only living there. So they were not recognized as a Palestinian country by who? By whom? By United Nations? By whom? By other countries? No, they were just living there. So can we just accept that there are people, and maybe some people, they live in different structure. Maybe they don't need government, maybe they don't need president election, maybe they don't need like clear borders. They are just living, because those were maybe primitive tribes, and maybe they didn't need all those state apparatus, all of this. So how can British say that because there were no clear borders, there was no president, no government, no state recognized by others, so that means there was like nothing there? There were lots of people.
Countries have overseas territories, right? Like Greenland belongs to Denmark. So it would be like Denmark saying after World War II, yeah, we're sorry that you were persecuted so horribly to the Jews, giving them their own country in Greenland, and then maybe the people of Greenland who are living in Danish territory saying, we don't want any Jews here, we're going to kill them. That's the pro-Israel side of the argument. But Greenland is nonetheless still Denmark's territory legally. So the same as Israel was, as Palestine was Britain's territory, in the same way that Greenland is Denmark's now. These countries have overseas territories, right?
Yeah, but there were people living there, so
sure.
So I don't know whether you have the right to say this.
But it's there.
You could do Okay, you mentioned Greenland, but let's face it, who was guilty of Jewish genocide?
The
Germans.
Nazis.
Yes. So
Yeah,
why they didn't give a part of Germany to them? So this would be
because
more natural, understandable. They are guilty, they did it, so now they must give part of their land. So this would be understandable. Why Arabs? What Arabs have to do with this? Why they had to suffer? Why they need to suffer genocide, to be subjected to this whole problem?
well,
I know why. I know why, because it comes from why Zion is so holy for them. And I wanted to read about it, actually.
Yeah,
Can
well,
I?
yeah, sure. Just before we continue, though, I obviously
Huh?
reject. I reject any Jewish claim to the land given by God. As I say, I'm an atheist. So the Orthodox Jews, who comprise a small percentage of the population of Israel, who say stuff like, God has given us this land and we want the Arabs out, whatever. Yeah, I think that's disgusting and evil. I don't. That's not something that I agree with at all. I'm anti-religion and anti the idea of, oh, God has given me this land, whatever. The counter argument, though, is this is what Muslims are doing. They're saying this is the lands of Allah. Jews do not belong here. We're going to drive them out of Egypt. We're going to drive them out of Jordan. We're going to drive them out of Saudi Arabia. And one day we will destroy, the fake state of Israel. But Israelis are saying this is their ethnic homeland, the kingdom of Israel and Judah. They were persecuted brutally in Europe. They've been driven out of Europe by pogroms, by Nazism, and that they just deserve their own safe haven where they originate from, which is the ancient kingdom of Israel and Judah. They're saying they wanted to live peacefully alongside the Arabs, and that's what they're doing now that they have, the Arabs have full legal rights within Israel, and that they want to live peacefully side by side with them. But Hamas and co just want to keep they want Israel wiped off the face of the map, and they want to do that with violence. So that's the Israel claim.
Okay, so that's the Israel claim. I think you know how funny it sounds. It's ridiculous, completely ridiculous, because it has nothing to do with the way they are acting. So we know it. But let's get back to the question: why there? Because they said, oh, this is their homeland originally. But even historically, from the beginning, it was so awful, because how? They believe that the God gave them, promised them. It's called Promised Land. But how did they got into possession of this land? So first of all, even historically, first thing they did was genocide. The whole Bible, Old Testament, is about genocide after genocide, and always. So there are two elements. Yes, there's the story of genocide, and of course, in the name of God, and trading with God by Holocaust. Yes, and this is something what is also a big problem for me, that vegans ignore the original meaning and the significance of the word Holocaust.
Yeah, the Israeli claim is that they were persecuted and driven out of those lands. The Jews spread across the world, and then they've been driven out of even Europe, where they were meant to be safe from, I don't know, Arab persecution, for example. But then, the Nazis round them up, put them in gas chambers. There were pogroms in England as well, where I live. Like in medieval times, there were mass murders of Jews as well. So I think the Jewish side of the story is that they lived in the ancient kingdom of Israel and Judah. They might have even been driven out of there for some reason, and then they've been basically persecuted in every single country that they've ever been to, and seen as the bad guy in every single country that they've ever been to. And all they want is just their own safe land where they can have their own state and be free from persecution.
Actually, they could have lived peacefully in Poland, and we had a huge huge population of Jews. It was actually, I think, even 30% of Polish population, and I don't see any problem that they could live, and also after war that could still keep living. That's nonsense saying that they were in danger here. The war was finished, was over.
But I think they were pretty terrified, though, of it happening again, because it kept happening in Europe throughout history. The Holocaust wasn't the first thing. The Holocaust was the straw that broke the camel's back. The Holocaust was like, okay, now we have to have our own state. We've had pogroms over centuries and centuries. We've been mass murdered in Europe and everywhere that we've gone. Now the final touch is us being wiped off the face of the earth by the Nazis. This is enough. We have to have our own state somewhere. We'll gladly, if Europe reforms, we'll gladly live as citizens in these countries. But ideally, we want a Jewish state. And then the British said, okay, well, we'll give you the state in your original homeland, which is on our piece of land.
We'll give you. So British said, we will give you Arab's land. It sounds ridiculous.
No. But the argument is it was British land because it was legally British land.
It was British land. Mm.
Yeah, and before that, Ottoman.
I don't think Arab would agree, or Palestinians would agree. And
right, but then the Israeli argument would say, but under what law are you? Under what legislation do you say that it's not your land? They'll just say it's xenophobia. They're just saying they would just say, look, you were living happily under Ottoman rule, under British rule, and then as soon as they say, oh, now this is going to be a Jewish state, you say we're going to kill you. Mm-hmm. So their claim is that it's pure xenophobia from those Arabs living there.
So you're using the argument that Jewish needed to escape from Europe, escape from, for example, from Poland, because they were afraid that the situation might repeat. So they were not afraid to go to Arabs, where it was super obvious. It's obvious that there will be constant war. So this was obvious, to go to Arab to fight for with religious fanatics for their holy land against them. So this was obvious. But why?
It seemed like a terrible move.
It could be they were horrified of staying in Poland. So you mentioned, of course, you mentioned Holocaust. So tell me, so were Jewish the only nation subjected to genocide during the Second World War in Europe, among European countries? Only Jews?
No, other groups were persecuted as well.
But for example, other nations? Is there another nation which maybe have the same number of victims? And which was also
it was a world war,
planned and organized genocide.
Oh yeah, it was a world war, so there was horrific. There was millions of killed.
No. We are not talking about war and war victims. We are talking about organized, planned, deliberate genocide. Okay, so have you heard such a term like Polish concentration camps?
As in concentration camps of Poles?
No. I mean the phrase Polish concentration camps. Have you heard?
I don't think I've heard them being called Polish concentration camps, but I've obviously, when we talk about Auschwitz and Birkenau.
Okay, what about Auschwitz? What was Auschwitz about and for? What was it designed for?
For mass murdering Jews.
Of Jews? You think it was designed to murder Jews? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're wrong, because I can prove it to you. Maybe you can even. Can you share my screen?
Sure. Share screen. I think you have to press a button called present or something, and then do you have a present button at the bottom there?
Sorry, what?
Do you have a button at the bottom of your screen saying present, or it might say something?
I should. Okay.
Yeah, I think if you press it and then I have to accept it, I think.
All right. Let me see. Stop. Mute. Present. Yes.
There you go. Okay.
Share screen. Yes.
Yeah.
And don't show. There is share screen. I think. Yes. Is it already?
I can't see anything actually. No, that's annoying.
No.
No, I can't see anything.
No.
No.
Okay, so anyway, you can. So I will just read for you, and you can check yourself if you.
Oh, I'll tell you what you can do.
If you visit Auschwitz official website, Auschwitz Museum official website. So the fact is that. Okay.
If you want, you can send me the link in the private chat, and I can put it up on my screen if you want. So you see where it says private chat on the right of your screen. Send me the link and I can put it up on my screen if you want.
Where is this private chat? Okay, here.
It should be on the right.
I see.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just open that up. Present. Share screen. Okay. Where is it you want?
This is official website of Auschwitz Museum, yes?
Yep.
And okay. I don't remember in which point, but anyway, we can read from this website. We can read that Auschwitz was designed for Polish, and for first 2 years there was no Jews there. It was designed for Polish.
Sorry, I'm taking it off now. Sorry, let me put it back.
We have Auschwitz as the place for the deportation and annihilation of Poles. The Auschwitz concentration camp, created 10 months after the beginning of the war, was the first concentration camp built in occupied Polish territory, together with Majdanek and Stutthof. It was one of the main places of deportation and annihilation of Poles. The first transport of Polish political prisoners arrived in Auschwitz in 40th. And on that day, the Germans deported. Okay, so in first 2 years, there were, I think in 40, 41, okay, until mid 42nd, there were no Jews. It was designed originally for Polish. What else? We can read from this official website that they had the plan so there were 12 million Poles living in the central part of Poland, and their plan was to leave just 4 up to 5 million living. So wouldn't you call this a genocide? So there was also a plan of genocide of Polish people.
Was their plan to actually wipe out all of the Polish people? I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that question. As far as I'm aware, the Nazis planned to seize Poland for their own control. I didn't know that they ever wanted to actually wipe.
Wait a second, because now it's heavy rain. I will close the window, because it's it became very loud.
Yeah. Cool. Vered, what website is this? The website is called, it's Auschwitz.org. Auschwitz.org. Yeah.
It is official website of Auschwitz Museum.
Yeah. In answer to so with regards to it being a genocide of Poles, yeah, I don't know if the plan was to ever. I'm happy for you to let me know the answer. If the Nazi plan was to actually wipe out Poles, then then that would count as a genocide. They wanted to
leave some as their slaves, like cheap labor and all, but majority they wanted to wipe out.
Right.
So there was obvious the plan of genocide of Poles even before they decided about Jews. So, but the war is over, and so are Polish also escaping, because Germany is still our neighborhood country, so maybe we also should escape, and maybe also British people should give us another land, because we are next to Germans. So we are still here. the war is finished, it's over, we leave, we survived. Who survived then they survived. Well, also Jewish people could also stay here.
Well, but the point is, they did at the end of the Second World War have their own land. It was called Poland.
Yeah, with a huge, yeah, okay, that's true that many of them were murdered. Yeah, that's true, that's true. But the question is, okay, I don't oppose the idea that they wanted to have their own land. Although, look, they have been living here for 1,000 years. In normal circumstances, immigrants assimilate with people, yes? Why they couldn't have assimilated with us for 1,000 years?
Yeah,
become like a part, like real part, true part. Some of them did.
Well,
some of them did, and they are normal Polish with Jewish origin roots, and no problem.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's what Jews said they wanted. They've always wanted to do throughout history, but they've just been persecuted and driven out.
Really? So this is again a fake claim. So this is Israel propaganda, what you are saying. So everybody, so that's why we must be really, really careful before we use the word anti-Semite, because what you said is pure lie, which I can prove is wrong, because, we have documents, we have, very well invested museum of Jewish history. It's called Poland. It's the most expensive museum in Polish history, and Jewish were very, very happy that finally we funded the museum for them.
Right.
And what we are learning there, we see all documents, so we see the history. This is not true that they were trying to assimilate. You know what is our first experience with them living here, coming here? First experience, they came, you said they came to Europe because they were escaping from Arabs, yes? This was your original claim. They came to Europe because they were afraid of Arabs.
I don't even know. I don't even know the history of the ancient kingdom of Israel and Judah. I don't actually know what the deal is with it. I think the Jewish claim is that they were driven out of there and then tried to assimilate across the world and were driven out of there as well. But that they were driven out of Europe and had many mass murders in Europe, we know is a fact. Not only the Holocaust, but the pogroms that took place in England, in medieval times and everywhere. So that's not Israeli propaganda. These were things that legit happened. And I think Jews were they had after World War II, as I say, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and they had enough. They said, right, that's it. We need our own place free from persecution, or it might have been the British that offered that to them first. I'm not sure.
So maybe better, instead of searching for a place, especially searching for this place in Palestine, maybe better would be to make some self-reflection, like what was wrong? What did we do wrong that why people hated us? Because I will tell you what was our first experience with Jews when they came here in early Middle Ages. So our history, at least this reported history, started from the 8th century. So first, when they came, they started kidnapping us and selling as slaves. So you know that why? So have you ever thought about why the word slave sounds so similar to Slavic people? Because obviously it refers to Slavic people. The word slave comes from Slavic people.
But those were Muslim slave traders, though, right?
But who brought Slavic people to Muslim? Jews. They came here to our land to...
I don't know about that claim, but I guess there are probably many Jews out there who would say that that's anti-Semitic propaganda. I don't know the validity of that claim.
Why they agreed to this claim, and this is in the official museum, which is like super official, which is supported by Israeli government.
Okay. I don't know if there were some high up Jews in oppressive positions who collabed with Muslims on enslaving people, just as there could be non-Jews who would have done that as well. But the pogroms that took place of where Jews were just mass murdered across Europe, these were just normal innocent people just trying to live their life in Germany, in England, in France, wherever they'd been mass murdered over history.
Terrible. Yeah. Yeah, this is terrible when I am absolutely against collective liability. And this is the worst thing. Yeah, this is the whole problem. It's also the whole problem with, you call it Holocaust. I have some objections against usage, the word Holocaust referring to humans. But okay, for the sake of this conversation, I will say just Holocaust. So this is the worst problem with Holocaust, because obviously there were some problems with Jewish community, but the problem is that they persecuted all the people, including children, women. A lot of innocent people were killed. So this was horrible. This is absolutely unacceptable. Actually, similarly to what's going on now in Gaza. So whatever wrong you would say about Hamas or October the 7th, it's exactly the same. Why the hell are they targeting children, hospitals, doctors, humanitarian aid workers, journalists? What do they have to do with this?
If Israel has committed any war crime and has intentionally tried to massacre innocent people, then those people responsible need to be held accountable for that. The Israeli argument, though, for the mass bombing right now of Gaza is that they're trying to eliminate Hamas, who are tens of thousands in number and in those civilian areas. And that this is just a tragic circumstance of war, that civilians will ultimately die, the same as the bombing of Dresden or Berlin or wherever.
All right. I hope we will get back to this, because I still would like to stay for a little longer with the root problems. So yeah, there were some problems before, and I think instead of searching for a new land because they were so unaccepted, they could a little bit have some self-reflection, like. Is there any reason that people don't like some actions of us? So, like I said, in Poland, the huge problem was sadism towards animals. This was one of the biggest problem and objections. But okay, I will send you another link. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, this is a part of the Bible which explains why Zion is such a holy place. So, because we must understand, and please start from 62nd verse, 62. This is very important for us to really
62.
62.
Okay.
So this is the moment when they. This is the moment from which this Zion became a holy place. What made this place holy? Could you please read? This passage.
From 62 up to where do you want me to read?
Yes.
Okay. And the king and all Israel him offered victims before the Lord. That's it? That's all you want me to read?
Yeah. Please continue.
Continue. And Solomon slew victims of peace offerings, which he sacrificed to the Lord, 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. So the king and the children of Israel dedicated the temple of the Lord. Do you want me to keep reading?
Yeah, please. Still 68.
I don't want to bore my audience with all the Bible verses and stuff. But
please. It's very important to understand why Zion. Why Zion?
All right. In that day, the king sanctified the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord. For there he offered the holocaust and sacrifice and fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Lord was too little to receive the holocaust and sacrifice and fat of the peace offerings.
Yeah, sure. Please continue. Just until 26. 66, sorry.
Until 66. And Solomon made at the same time a solemn feast, and all Israel with him, a great multitude, from the entrance of Emath to the river of Egypt, before the Lord our God 7 days and 7 days, that is 14 days. And on the 8th day, he sent away the people, and they blessed the king and went to their dwellings rejoicing, and glad in heart for all the good things that the Lord had done for David his servant and for Israel his people.
So this is sanctioning the Zion as a holy place. And from that moment, since that moment, Jews are fighting for this place. They necessarily want to be there, nowhere else, not in Poland, not in Greenland, not in Siberia, not in Africa. They want to be in Zion, because this is the moment when it was sanctioned. So you see the whole process. So which way they sanctioned? They sanctioned this place by the ritual called Holocaust, and they slaughtered 20,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. Just try to imagine. Just try to imagine this ritual. 120,000 sheep slaughtered. Just imagine how much blood. How much blood. So they were dancing in this blood. And just look, they felt glad in heart. They had festival. So in another translation, we read there was a festival of slaughter. And this Holocaust made this place holy. So do you think that it has nothing to do that vegans should respect this?
No, vegans should absolutely not respect this, and they shouldn't respect what Palestinians are doing in Gaza either, when they massacre animals for Eid al-Adha in the streets.
Isn't it the same ritual? Who had this original? Who was the first? Where does this idea of a ritual called Holocaust? And we should never forget the original meaning, because it's absolute speciesism. And there are even more.
No, it stems from animals. It stems from the mass murder of animals.
Yes. In ritual, is the way to trade with God. So we are paying you with the life of others. What is also shocking, even in this short part of text, they offered victims. So in some translations we have victims, in others we have sacrifice. So just think about how toxic to whole humankind is mixing, unifying those two phenomena, like sacrificing something from your side, like sacrificing your time, your patience, your energy to doing something, to providing something, and victimizing. Can you see that the Bible mixed those two phenomena, and it's still so people are still brainwashed by this ideology, that they don't see difference between sacrificing from your side and victimizing another person. So Judaism, Zionism, is also about glorifying violence, because victimizing someone is a holy thing. Yes.
Yeah. So in Israel, the percentage of the super Orthodox Jews who kind of believe in all that stuff is actually quite small. Most Jews in Israel are kind of just secular Jews. Religion isn't taken super seriously in Israel. You can have freedom of religion. You can be an atheist in Israel. You can. I don't think that there are blasphemy laws, anything like that. All this stuff is actually happening in Muslim countries.
Yes, and I have a little bit problem with this. Actually, I have some problem with atheists who just disregard the whole ideology and mindset hidden behind religions. Because who cares if you are atheist or not? If they are atheists or not? If they are subscribed to this ideology which originates from religion? So, for example, you say they are atheists. So how do they react when they see American blonde fat guy coming to West Bank, and he's claiming the God promised me this land. I have the right to be there. I saw such interview. So journalist is asking, do you feel okay? Are you fine? Are you okay with the fact that you have just stolen somebody's house, that you threw people out and or even killed them? And he said, yes, I am absolutely fine. I am right because I have this right because the God promised me. This is promised land. So they hear this. Do they oppose? Do they say no? Or they accept it? Are they part? So are those atheist Jews part of this movement?
No. So yeah, there are. I spoke to Israelis about this, about Palestinians being kicked out of their homes. They say there's been some propaganda shared by media sources like Al Jazeera and stuff, and say that in large parts these videos that we see are online are over kind of landlord disputes or some kind of stuff like that, and they're actually being framed as Jews coming along and just kicking Palestinians out of their home because they have some kind of God-given right to the land. Now, I don't contest the idea that there are some literal Zionists who do believe in that batshit crazy bullshit, that they should just be allowed to kick someone out of their house, and they have God-given right to someone's home or some land. But yeah, screw those people and anyone who defends anyone like that. And yeah, just the average Israeli person, yeah, they would just be against that. They would just say, no, I don't believe in that bullshit. Why should someone be kicked out of their home because of God gives me this land or something like that? Yeah, the average Israeli wouldn't stand by like an extremist Orthodox Jew.
I'm afraid you're wrong, because if they were against, they would never support Netanyahu. They would never support those religious fanatics who run their country right now.
Well,
and whose purpose is to rebuild this holy slaughterhouse temple.
Yeah, I don't know about what kind of support Netanyahu has, how religious he is, whether he's using...
He's absolutely religious.
Yeah, I don't know if he's using... Yeah, I mean, I'm not the most clued up person about that, but I know that just the vast majority of Israelis just seem to be kind of secular, kind of westernized kind of people who really just don't really give a toss about religion. They see themselves more as ethnic Jews. They don't believe that they have some kind of like all the Israelis I know in the vegan movement, I think they're pretty atheist leaning, to be honest. And if Netanyahu said something like, God has given us the right to this land, and we want the
like Amaleks,
sure, then they would then they would object to that, but they would agree with his policy. Okay,
they don't.
But they would agree with his policy to eliminate Hamas, because
they not Hamas. Look, 60% of Israeli people are against entrance of any humanitarian aid to Gaza. So 60% support the organized genocide.
Yeah, I don't know about
only 3%. Only 3% think there is something wrong in the current policy. Okay, only 3% are against.
I don't know where these stats come from and what the average Israeli would say about that, but I would talk to whether they would say that that's propaganda. But one thing I will say is Israel seems to be the only country in the world in history that is expected to give aid to the place that it's ultimately at war with, that's trying to kill them.
That's
so
crazy.
It'd be like,
okay, I will tell you from where those stats come from. It's by Norman Winkelstein. He said in his video, he's Jew. Yeah. Yes, he's American Jew. He said those stats.
I don't know much about Norman Finkelstein, but I know he's not a very popular person, and he's seen like a bit of a loon amongst many Jews. A lot of Israelis, a lot of Jews see him as quite a self-hating or dangerous person that maybe is an apologist for Hamas or something like that. But I don't know that much about it.
No. No, for sure he's anti-Zionist, like also Orthodox Jews. Just have you ever thought about why Orthodox Jews, like real Jews, why they are also anti-Zionists?
Well, it depends. But yeah, I have seen like on marches here in London and stuff, on pro-Palestine marches, I have seen the Orthodox Jews going on those marches and say they oppose Zionism and stuff like that. So yeah, opinion does seem to be mixed. But I think the majority of Orthodox Jews and just Jews and ethnic Jews, secular Jews in general, just seems to be that they are being persecuted by Hamas. They have the right to defend themselves, and unfortunately, there's the tragedy of war will result in civilian deaths in the same way that Hamas is firing rockets at them every single day. But the only reason Israel isn't a smoldering wreck is because they actually have the Iron Dome defense system that shoots all the rockets out of the sky, whereas Palestine doesn't have that.
Okay, so, but do you think it is fair to talk about Israeli right to self-defense and neglect the Palestinians' right to self-defense?
Well, you just have two sides here squabbling over a piece of land, and one is blaming the other. So anyone who is being attacked has the right to self-defense, yes.
Yeah, so who was attacked? Who was attacked?
Well, Israelis are saying that they were attacked. They've said they've
but
offered...
we know, but okay, so Israeli says so, but behind Israeli propaganda, as we know historically.
Okay.
So Palestinians were attacked. Yes, Israel came, started from. Okay, so they came.
Not the Israeli
they started
claim.
From genocide. So this is fact. And since then, did they try? Did they make any effort to make it possible to live side by side? Maybe
Israelis are saying yes.
Original genocide. Maybe they could offer them something like some help. Okay, let's now cooperate. Let's try to live somehow together. Maybe we can provide you with something valuable, something that maybe like kind of apology, or first they should apologize. First of all, but did they do this, or they continued ethnic cleansing, genocide, and after all, they restricted Gazans to this small area where there were many restrictions on water. So we can actually legally, probably, we might even prove that there has been a genocide going on even before 7th of October. Because there were restrictions on water, on food. There was constantly famine there. And they had no port. They had no airport. They could do nothing. They were imprisoned. So Gaza is called like the biggest open air prison or the biggest concentration camp in the world.
Okay, let me
even before 7th of October. Yes.
So the Israeli claim here is that they have tried throughout history to offer them numerous peace treaties. Time and time again, they say, we just want to live next to you side by side peacefully. Look, we even have Arabs, like we have a high percentage of Arabs living in Israel under full legal protection. We just want peace. We don't want to do anything. And Hamas says, no, you are Jews. You must be cleansed from the lands of Allah. That is what Israel is saying. They're saying they tried and tried again.
No, I don't know all the details. So I don't want to claim that I know all the details. And for sure, both sides are religious fanatics who both have claims that it's their holy land, and it's the huge conflict around this Zion as a place.
But it's more so
slaughterhouse.
Right, but it's more so with Hamas. I think a good majority maybe of Israelis think the idea that God gave them the land is bullshit. But Hamas, literally, like Palestinians and Hamas, are Orthodox Muslims in like all of Hamas are, and the majority of Palestinians are, and they genuinely do believe in Islamist territorialism and that these are Muslim lands, and there are no Jews living in the Palestinian territories. They've been driven out despite the fact. So Israelis are saying that Palestine is the apartheid territory. Jews are driven out. Gay people are murdered.
Yeah. I hear. I just wanted to say.
Women don't have the same legal standings as men. They're saying Israel is the country, the democracy in the Middle East, where Arabs live peacefully with Jews side by side. Gay people have rights. Women have the same rights as men do. And they're saying that they just want to exist peacefully there. But Hamas want them eliminated, and the surrounding Arab countries as well. A lot of the people there just want Israel wiped from the face of the earth.
I'm not going to defend Islam and Muslims because obviously, I'm the last person to. But the question is, okay, if we disagree with Islam, what we for sure we do, and like first of all, Islam and Christianity are we could say kids of Judaism. Yes, so all the worst ideas come from Judaism. Yes, so I think I would expect some responsibility from Jew people, not just to say, I'm atheist, I don't care. No, this is your responsibility just to sit down, to read and to revise all philosophy, all mindset derived from your holy text.
Yeah, but the argument
because
is that
you toxicated the minds of billions of people throughout the history and all over the world right now. So,
well, Muslims wouldn't even agree with your argument themselves, though, because they don't believe that it was inspired by Judaism or created by Judaism. They would just say the Prophet Muhammad was a Muslim and he gave the revelation from God that Islam is the true religion.
No, they worship Moses. They worship Moses, Abraham.
Yeah, but they believe he was a Muslim.
But they take those Jewish texts as it's also part of their holy scripture. Yes.
All right. Let's assume that that's true, and all those people were Jews, and Judaism is what started all this in the first place. The difference is that Christianity and Judaism have gone under the Reformation, and that these countries now, Christian countries in the West and Israel, are modern progressive democracies where you can have freedom of religion, you can blaspheme, whatever the hell that is. Islam has not gone under Reformation, and it's still in its medieval age. Gays are still persecuted. You get killed if you blaspheme, and so on.
Yes, I know because I have friends. I have friends in one of those countries who are actually they are passionate atheists. But they say if they claimed publicly what their true belief is, their true position stance is, they would be just beheaded.
Right.
So, it's unbelievable that such things are happening in modern world. Yeah, that's true. So I fully agree. But okay. So we agree that Islam is probably even worse and.
It's behind, it's behind the other religions in far of progress, for sure.
Yes. But so what can we do? So because of this, you think we should accept the genocide of Muslim people?
No, and pro-Israel people aren't saying, unless a few fucking lunatics aren't saying that they want a genocide of Muslims. In fact, what they're actually doing is pointing out the clear hypocrisies here from the pro-Palestine mob, that China aren't being raked over the coals for this when they are genociding Uyghur Muslims, or Myanmar when the Rohingya Muslims are being genocided. They're saying, sorry, but where on earth is all the outrage over what's going on in Myanmar, over what's going on in China? Why is everyone just looking at us saying we're genociding Muslims when, number one, we don't want to genocide Muslims, and number two, Myanmar and China literally are genociding Muslims?
Okay, but they can say, they can make a claim they don't want, but it's exactly what they are doing. Have you checked the definition of genocide or the 10 stages of genocide? Have you checked?
I've seen all that stuff going around. Sure, yeah. There are still Israeli counter arguments to that, though, and they say that this is not what's happening. They say their comparison here is that it's similar to. They'll say, okay, if you do want to call this a genocide, then the bombing of Germany during World War II was also a genocide. that's what they're saying. They're saying you have to be consistent. If you want to call it a genocide, okay, go ahead. But then Britain and the USA were genociding Germany by bombing it. And by the way, my own country.
I'm searching for this definition. But okay. So during the case to ICJ against Israel, President of South Africa said that deliberate denial of medicine, fuel, food, water to Gaza is tantamount to genocide, and it is. So even one of those aspects, if they just don't provide access to transport of food, or if they put some restrictions on water or medicine, even one of those things is already genocide. But they fulfilled like everything, all the criteria. They met all the criteria of genocide.
I don't know the full story with the whole aid stuff, but I know there are some Israeli advocates who have debunks flying around for that. And once again, they state the claim that Israel is the only country that's expected to provide aid for ultimately the place that they're fighting against. And a lot of that, I think part of their claim is that aid was otherwise is largely going to Hamas or something, who they obviously want eliminated. So when aid is being sent,
they denied access to the whole area to children. The children are the main victim. So how can they deny if? So I have here even written down. I took a note from Yoav Gallant, the Minister of Defense, Israeli Minister of Defense. So here are his words: "I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly."
Yeah, so,
I don't. Some words we can see.
All I know is that Israel is certainly doing more to aid Gazans than Hamas did to aid Israelis after October the 7th. But if people are trying to cut off aid to actual civilians and murder them, yeah, they should be tried for war crimes. I'm not going to be here defending that at all. But so Israel is saying
those are facts, yes.
I don't know, but Israel are saying that there are specific reasons that are being twisted or something. They have counter arguments for all these
they
things.
Have counter argument, but all 8 organizations from all over the world, they know how it looks, because they go there. They are trying to provide aid, and they are denied the entrance, or they are being killed. Like for example, Polish guy who went there to feed Gazan people. So they deliberately sent drone to kill them, this whole team. Although they discussed, they let Israeli army know that we are from international humanitarian aid organization. We are going just with food. They knew the route, where they are going, where they are heading, and they deliberately sent drones to kill them. Yes, so
yeah,
those are facts.
I don't know the ins and outs of this. All I know is that obviously I am certainly opposed to any murder of civilians, and so is every Israeli that I know in the animal rights movement. I've not heard one single pro-Israel person in the movement say, I think we should just murder little kids. But a lot of the information that is coming to the pro-Palestine side in the animal rights movement is unfortunately being fed to them by Hamas, by Qatari influence at Western universities. There's Qatari billionaires and stuff with influence in these US universities who are peddling sort of pro-Hamas propaganda, anti-Israel propaganda. So unfortunately, a lot of the information that we're getting in the midst of war could well just be pro-Hamas nonsense. I don't doubt that there's pro-Israel propaganda nonsense as well. I don't doubt that at all. And I also do not doubt at all that Israel has committed war crimes, and those who have should be held accountable. but I'm not seeing. I haven't heard just the average Israeli animal rights activist, defend murdering civilians or defend the idea that God gives them this land and Arabs must be sent out. All that I would, there's extremist evil people, unfortunately, in every country. Israel has plenty of backwards people. Palestine has plenty of backwards people. Hamas is an entire army of backwards people.
Okay, so but it doesn't add up. So because if you claim, and you, Patricia, you claim that if you made a claim that Israel is the most vegan country in the world, and but at the same time with the highest consumption rate of meat, the biggest number of animals slaughtered. Yes, so we also must remember this. So
well,
the biggest catastrophe of vegans, we would say.
Yeah,
so,
I looked into this. I don't think Israel does have the highest meat consumption per capita. It might be up there, but in any case, that's per non-vegan person. But it certainly has a higher percentage of vegans than any Arab country and of Palestine.
Yeah, it's number 4. If we calculate per kilo per capita, but if about number of lives, because Israel is number 1 consumer of chickens in the world, so usually chickens count into more lives taken per 1 kilo. So we can assume that they kill the biggest amount of animals.
Well, Israel's a relatively small country compared to some of the cute,
per capita.
Yeah, right. So maybe do Israelis eat more chickens per person than Americans?
I don't know. Possibly. They are number one in the world.
But places like India, the USA, Russia will kill far more chickens overall because they have massive populations.
Yeah, Poland is also at the top, I think, top of the world.
Yeah,
but usually they do it for export.
Sure, and can I just clarify one thing me and Patricia said in the stream? No one who is being accused of vegan washing Israel is saying it's a vegan country. It's very much not. It's complicit in the animal holocaust, the same as every single country is. What we were just saying is that it's significant. It's a good thing that it's doing a lot of work in many places to advance animal rights. It's got lab meat startups. It's got plant-based meat startups. It has a high percentage of vegans. It has a huge vegan scene in places like Tel Aviv, and a sizable minority, I think it's 4% or something, of the IDF is vegan. Not high enough, it's still a carnist military, but it's a start. And I think part of our point in the stream is that it's kind of dangerous for the animal rights movement that there's this hyper focus of hatred, selective hatred, on the country that's actually kind of advancing animal rights more. And there's all this kind of stuff like vegans must support Palestine, they must be against Israel. But if Palestine has its own, if Israel was wiped off the face of the map and Hamas run the land, there would be 0% vegans, because it would be blasphemy to say that, Allah is wrong, that animals are here to serve humans. That's seen as a huge sin, unfortunately, in many Muslim countries. You could be severely punished in many Muslim countries if you said Allah is wrong or this part of the Quran is wrong, where it says, animals are here to serve humans. Allah put them here for your use.
Yeah, I know it's a horrible problem. It's a horrible problem. I only pose this kind of thinking that Patricia said that there are so many vegans there, so therefore we should. This is the reason that we should support Israel. So, first of all, if there are so many of them, so why they didn't oppose, for example, those horrible words? What does it even mean that we are fighting human animals and we act accordingly?
Well, yeah, most Israelis are speciesist.
This is the mindset which is present in Israel, that animals this is really, really the mindset throughout the history, Jewish history, Judaism history. This is also what Polish people had a problem, and why they are labeled as anti-Semitic, because this was what they were fighting against. That
sure, yeah, most Jews are
or commodifying animals to making their fate like by default is you must kill them, you can be sadistic to them. So look, this is an argument for Israeli Minister of Defense that because they are animals, we must kill them all.
Well, they're saying that that's a twisting of what he's actually saying. They say he's talking about Hamas. He's not talking about killing them all. If he said kill them all under,
it doesn't matter. He still says that we are fighting human animals and we act accordingly. So it still doesn't matter who he thinks of.
And obviously, as an anti-speciesist, I don't stand behind his words, even when talking about Hamas, because I think comparing Hamas to animals is an insult to animals. But yes, most Israelis are speciesists. No one's arguing.
Accordingly, meaning that if someone is an animal, that means that we must kill him.
They're talking about Hamas, at least is the Israeli
doesn't matter
argument.
whom they are talking about. If someone is a human animal, then for vegans should mean that, okay, so we must protect him. Yes?
No, because that's just the speciesist labeling a Hamas fighter or something. I want Hamas to be wiped out. I don't want animals to be wiped out.
Yeah, so therefore we should oppose this. Even vegans should react in Israel.
Well,
what does it mean?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure the Israeli vegans, they would have said, yeah, we don't agree with your speciesist use of the term animals. But
exactly.
Speciesist Israelis won't care about that because they're speciesists. So the majority of Israelis won't care that he said that. But the vegan Israelis, yeah, they would say, "What do you mean animals? Like that? You're insulting animals by comparing them to Hamas. We shouldn't use speciesist language."
Mm-hmm. I think you also just a few minutes ago, and also Patricia also used this. Okay, I will just stop with your words. You said that it's better if there is Israel there, because otherwise there would be just only this, would be the whole region would be Muslim, and there will be like no hope for the animals.
Yeah, I mean,
the argument from what I think we can label it as a consequentialism. I don't know if I pronounce it. Is it correct the way I pronounce it?
That's correct pronunciation. Yeah.
Yeah, but and also if we say that we should support Israel because there are vegans there, so I think the natural consequence of of this thinking is that we also should praise. Actually, we should praise Hitler, because what he did for animals is exceeding far what all Israeli activists have done. He was the first to ban vivisection. Poland was, and many things. They wanted to ban all slaughterhouses after the war. Yes, they banned already ritual slaughter. Yes, they did. Before that, it was already banned in Poland by so-called anti-Semitism.
That's Joseph Goebbels' propaganda to make the Nazis appear more peaceful. They actually persecuted who at the time were called vegetarians, anyone who opposed animal exploitation. They were driven out of Nazi Germany. If you read the book Eternal Treblinka by Charles Patterson, he talks about how who would have been vegans at the time were persecuted in Nazi Germany. Hitler was obsessed with the natural order, the idea that the strong dominate the weak. He was a huge carnist. There were animal slaughterhouses at every Jewish concentration camp. They tested on animals and on Jews in the concentration camp. They loved vivisection. And Himmler, I think, was obsessed with stuff like that, testing and genes and stuff like that, and seeing what you can create in a lab and kind of weird stuff and torturous experiments that they conducted. But no, the Nazis were very, very pro-animal Holocaust. They absolutely did not give a shit about animals. And every country they invaded, they seized the farmed animals for themselves. Nazi uniform was fully laden with wool and leather. I think the German water bottles in World War II had like a wool insulation on them as well. It's Joseph Goebbels' own propaganda that is still alive and kicking, unfortunately, today, that Hitler or the Nazis gave the slightest toss about animals. They didn't care.
So you think this is not a historical fact that that Hitler banned vivisection, but then he changed this because yes, he was also under pressure of his own scientists who wanted to test on animals. But I think some historical facts are historical facts. We cannot deny historical facts, especially that they were preceded by the ban in Poland. So before that, I think in Poland the ban on ritual slaughtering was, I don't remember, it was maybe 36. It was before Germany. For sure, we were before. So those are facts. We have documents, and this ban was valid until almost the end of 20th century. So those are facts we cannot deny. But for sure there were different kinds of characters, and there were also some of them, they were hunters, and there was disagreement among elites, German elites. But just think about consequences. Just about consequences. The truth is, it is the truth until today, yes, up till today, that Jew people, they conduct the slaughter in the worst, most sadistic way possible, yes. Kosher slaughter is the worst, the most sadistic method possible. Not only method, it's not only about method, the problem is also with mindset, because they consider the suffering of animal as added value. So even this suffering, agony, is more important than meat itself. If the animal doesn't suffer enough, then they will not eat this flesh, because it doesn't count. It's not correct. It's not kosher. The animal must suffer consciously.
That's okay.
Yes,
I do see kosher slaughter as evil. The obviously, as a vegan, I see all slaughter as evil. But no, it's not written into any kind of kosher legislature that the animal must suffer more. It's specifically written into legislature that they shouldn't suffer. And this is but obviously it is nonsense, because it's not happening. Just the same as with halal. Yeah, if you go to any kosher slaughterhouse, any halal slaughterhouse,
halal is basically the same. Yes?
Yeah, the animals are suffering horrendously. Yeah, but the idea,
yeah, and they must, because this is the value, the whole value. They are glorifying
not the value,
the agony.
No, they're not.
You will say no, but the truth is, so it is. Because
I don't.
What does it mean that you're not allowed to stand the animal, or why the meat is not kosher if the suffering animal in agony is such an agony that it will faint. So if it will faint, okay, it didn't suffer enough consciously till the last moment. So it's not kosher, yes, because it must suffer till last second in fully conscious. The animal must feel it and know it and understand it, that it's dying. It must be conscious till the last moment. This is the whole idea of kosher and halal slaughter. It's the most sadistic way. There is it is not allowed to give any kind of relief to the animal.
The animal does suffer for sure, and it is a sadistic method of slaughter, but it's at the idea of kosher, and the practices do not contain the idea that the animal must suffer. What I have heard that about is stuff like Yulin Dog Festival in China. Apparently, the idea is that the suffering improves the meat. This is not written into any kind of Torah legislature at all. I'll butcher the name of what it is because I don't speak Hebrew. But there is a specific principle in the Torah that says you must not let animals suffer. So I agree that animals do suffer under Judaism, and kosher slaughter is wrong. What I'm saying is the idea you've heard from somewhere that Jews must ensure that the animals do suffer is wrong. That's not written into Jewish legislature.
This is nonsense. Look, what is the difference between dying conscious and unconscious? What is the main difference?
Yeah, no, but I agree. Kosher slaughter is horrific. I'm not here to defend it. I'm just
to be killed. For example, somebody psychopath wants to, cut you into pieces. Would you prefer to get some anesthesia before this, or you would prefer without anesthesia?
Okay, hold on. I'm not defending kosher slaughter. I've said it's wrong. I want all kind of ritual slaughter and all slaughter bans.
Why the animal must be conscious?
Because it's
what
it's
the
ridiculous.
value is.
Yeah,
because
stupid.
What is the difference between being conscious and being unconscious? What is the difference? That experience. So you have the experience of agony, or you don't experience this. Yes. So this is the only difference.
Yeah, but at the time the Torah was written, the idea was that was the quickest way. And now, obviously, it's like Islamic slaughter, it's just far behind. So it's stuck in the medieval times. But yeah, obviously, Orthodox Jews do falsely believe that the animal doesn't suffer when they slaughter them that way. I condemn kosher slaughter. I'm just saying it's wrong that you say it's written into the Jewish law, the idea that the animal must suffer. It's specifically written into Jewish law that the animal must not suffer. But it's stupid. Yeah, it's stupid.
They have read all this criticism. It's not the new discussion. This is old discussion.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I just read a book about it.
Yeah, and I would argue with if any Jew defended kosher slaughter and said the animals don't suffer, I would absolutely destroy them in an argument on that. The animals absolutely do suffer in kosher slaughter. However, what I'm saying is, I think there's some anti-Semitic propaganda being peddled about Jews out there that it's written into the Torah that the animals must suffer or something. What it says in the Torah is that the animal must not suffer. But they do.
Okay,
suffer.
So why do they still insist? So this is an interesting question. So why do they still insist? Because even Muslims are more flexible. So Muslims sometimes they accept stunning. So they are more flexible, more accepting the other ways. But Jewish never. Animals must consciously feel they are dying. They must experience the whole fear, pain, panic. They must.
A higher percentage of Jews are vegan and don't really care about what the Torah says. I guess if we're talking about ethnic Jews here, if you're talking about the religious
So I prefer Jews, they started to care and started to revise their scriptures and explain to the world why they are wrong following this culture. We, including them, we should start revising Judeo-Christianity, this culture. This, for example, all those ideas I said, for example, like mixing those concepts of sacrificing something from yourself, sacrificing yourself and victimizing somebody else. This is very important thing, super important thing. It comes from the Hebrew Bible. So they just will say, I'm atheist. It doesn't, I don't care. I prefer they start to care.
Well, a speciesist Jew won't care, but a non-speciesist Jew will. Ultimately, here we're talking about speciesists and non-vegans. I mean, fuck speciesists. I mean, I don't like. This isn't really the. Yeah, there's Jewish speciesists, most of them. There's Jewish Muslims, even more of them. There's speciesist Christians, most of them. Like it's, we stand against all forms of slaughter, whether it's non-religious slaughter, whether it's kosher slaughter, whether it's halal slaughter. Screw it all.
Anyway, I didn't finish my thought experiment because we just stopped at the, we focused on this kosher slaughter. So my claim is that kosher slaughter, halal slaughter is a topic which should be even taken out of this welfareism versus animal rights movement, this whole even out of this conversation, because it is something more than carnism. It is something more than carnism, because this is glorifying animals' agony. It's making sadism a holy thing. So this is like completely different level. It's above carnism. It's a different level of carnism. It's something else. So I think this is the worst for what animals could get from humankind. So think, as a result of genocide of 6 million Jews, just try to think about the number of animals which have been rescued from this horrific death. How many billions animals were rescued?
Well, yeah.
So if you go in this direction, if we use the consequentialism arguments, and we say, okay, it's better if there is Israel there, because if there are just Muslims, it would be even worse. So we should say, well, like Hitler was really probably the best person ever for animal rights movement.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I know where you're going with this. The claim that it's better that Israel is there, it's not a pro-genocide claim saying to murder anyone who is not an Israeli or is not a Jew. It's not some crazy consequentialist argument like, the Holocaust would be justified because it spared all these animals from Shechita slaughter, blah, blah, blah. That's not the argument that the pro-Israel side are making, and it's not what me and Patricia said in the stream either. It's just talking on a battle of two sides, of two human sides, who should own the land, what laws should be there. Obviously, you want democratic law over Sharia law. That's all it's saying. It's not saying genocide Arabs. That was not the point of anything that we said. We both stand against any form of genocide.
Yeah, I think we can agree on many points. I think I also wanted to maybe refer, maybe as the last thing today, because you said it's a problematic for vegan movements as such that we are now divided by this topic, because we are also divided by some other topics. Yes, there are also some other differences among vegans. For example, in my country, the biggest problems like dividing vegans is like the society is maybe shared among pro-life and pro-choice people. So this is this is topic which maybe divides people the most. And your debate was about how it affects vegan movement. Yes, so I think we should always remember, keep in mind that actually we are far from those events. I'm in Poland, you are in the UK. Yes, so we are just talking heads. Yes,
yeah.
So no matter what we believe, what we support, because it also depends also what media we follow, yes, what we watch, whom we listen to, whom we believe to, no matter what we think on this topic, our impact on the situation there is like almost zero, yes, almost zero. But on the other hand, we can have impact of on animals' lives every day. So I think we should always remember that this is just conversation. We are having conversation, yes? We are having conversation. There are no consequences of our conversation, of our views, yes? So we don't kill anyone, yes?
No.
Even if I would rather call myself like pro-Palestine in this context, in this situation. You call yourself pro-Israel. We disagree, but we don't kill anyone. But on the other hand, the truly important decisions are elsewhere. Yes, are our everyday choices. So I don't see why vegans should fight until the degree that they cannot cooperate. So this is something that I cannot understand.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, yeah. Well, yeah, this is part of my point that I've been making for years now, that we shouldn't let these external political issues influence our togetherness in the animal rights movement. I guess me and Pat just made a stream just saying why it would be a bad idea that there's this such put it this way, anti-Israel contempt, hatred, and the selective outrage against it is being marketed by intersectionals right now as this thing that the animal rights movement must do. All we did was a stream just saying why this could actually be a very bad idea for the movement, and I still think it is. We still want Israelis to be vegan. Like it's kind of a bad look for a movement when a whole movement just hates an entire country and its people. And I've seen some ridiculous xenophobia, anti-Semitism regarding this over the years. I mean, I saw the vegan campout, for example, last year just share a nice little post saying, hey, these are the flags of all the countries attending our festival this year. And all the intersectionals came flooding towards the comment section saying, why are you, why are you allowing Israelis there and showing the flag of the Israeli regime? And this was before October the 7th and all this stuff kind of kicked off. Like, this is just pure irrational hatred, hyper-focus on one country. They didn't say anything about any of the other flags, who all, whose countries are, run by corrupt people, or who have oppressive systems taking place within it, or have committed atrocities in the past or whatever, which just shows kind of the selective outrage just leveled at Israel right now. And I guess that's what our stream was about.
Actually, in fact, I think as vegans, we have a huge problem how to veganize Islamic world, because it's a huge part of the world. It's a huge population. And they also use the most sadistic method of slaughter. So it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem because there are some Muslims who say, yes, they switch from the word victimize to the word sacrifice, and some of them, they claim, okay, you don't need to victimize some of this, you can sacrifice something from you. But they are in minority. So on official like Islamic website, I saw that there was a question, can Muslim be a vegan? The answer was, he can eat whatever he wants, but he must sacrifice animals once a year. He must pay for slaughter. So it is a huge problem. And it is also a huge problem that they cannot unsubscribe from this religion.
But this was ultimately, I guess, predominantly Pat's point during the live stream and why we wanted to do this, because I guess the main point Pat was making throughout the stream was that, and me agreeing with what she's saying, is for the betterment of the advancement of both human rights and animal rights, the existence of Israel over a Hamas-run Islamist Palestine state in that territory is obviously the better option. I guess that was just one of the major reasons why we said anti-Israel sentiment is kind of a crazy thing for a vegan movement to be engaging in, because it's like, well, who do you want to actually be running that strip of land? Do you want Israel to run it, or do you want Islamists to run it? So, and to be run under Sharia law, because under Israel, animal rights actually has a better chance of progressing. And Israel is doing a great job right now with all the companies that it has, the startup companies that are trying to actually end the animal holocaust. It still has a speciesist problem overall, just like every country does, but ultimately Israel is leading the way in terms of animal rights.
But also it's leading the Karmist propaganda. Look, I don't know whether more than those Israeli activists, be the BDS movement, if they didn't make more good to animals by boycotting McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Burger King. Just look about how much propaganda is produced by McDonald's. McDonald's is not just a burger. There is the whole the way of positioning meat. Yes,
and these
meals
and these
boys.
Sure, but these boycotts were part of the reason actually why I think there is some anti-Semitism at play here, because they're not boycotting stuff made in China who are genociding the Uyghur Muslims. So there is just this hyper focus on anything, even not even Israeli companies, just anything remotely tied to Israel. Oh, this guy, this company here has an Israeli investor. Oh, this company here has an Israeli on the board. Let's boycott it. That just seems like spiteful xenophobia to me. Just like me or whoever just saying, oh, this company's got a Frenchman on the board. Let's not buy it. So what? I mean, it's just like, it just seems totally, especially.
It's not targeting persons, but it's targeting a state. They are boycotting the state because they don't want them to have enough money, resources to invest into bombs. They want to force them to start thinking about their own survival, about them having food and resources to survive, and stop investing into war. So I think that's the point.
But then they're buying phone cases like mine, probably made in China. Like, so it's I don't get who are genociding Muslims. So I just don't get the selective outrage. It just seems purely driven by xenophobia or anti-Semitism.
And unfortunately, I don't think that Israel is successful in veganizing the Middle East. Doesn't seem successful.
Well, nowhere's been successful because every country is participating in the animal holocaust, unfortunately. But ultimately, it's more successful than any of its surrounding neighbors. It has a higher vegan percentage. It has a bigger animal rights movement. I know a lot of Israeli vegans, tremendous animal rights activists, and they're doing a great job. And the same to those Arab animal rights activists from the surrounding countries as well. So props to anyone trying to advance animal rights, no matter where they're from.
But what would you say about maybe our... don't you think we should maybe even slightly prioritize the vegan activists, Arab vegan activists, because this is territory, this is like a huge population, which is going to be our main problem over next decades.
There could be an argument
if there
for
are
that.
Already activists, vegan activists, vegans there, maybe we should like really care about them.
Yeah, so I think that absolutely. There's two things here. Number one, I think we can elevate and boost the Israeli animal rights movement because they're close to really advancing the ending of the animal holocaust with things like lab meat and the super meat startups and stuff that they're starting there. These Israeli startups actually want the slaughter industry to be phased out entirely, which no Muslim innovation companies are doing in any Muslim countries. But at the same time, you're right. In the Islamic countries across the world where it's seen as this huge sin, you'll be persecuted for saying that the Quran is wrong, for saying that animals aren't our slaves. Yeah, we should absolutely elevate those activists and make sure that they're safe, they're protected, but also that they're validated in what they're saying. And props to them, they're heroes. I think any Muslim animal rights activist or animal rights activist living in a Muslim country is an absolute hero in my eyes.
Yeah, I think so. So I think we also should mind how they will feel if they see that there are vegans supporting genocide, because I cannot even accept the idea that how someone would reject calling ongoing situation genocide. I mean, meet all the criteria of a genocide as a definition. Check the definition.
Sure, and any vegan that actually wants genocide is obviously an immoral person. But the point is, I haven't actually seen that from any vegan Israeli pro-Israel vegan. I haven't seen them say I support genocide. They just want Hamas to be eliminated. I have seen some very, very hateful comments from the pro-Palestine side about the murdered hostages on October the 7th and how they want Israel to be wiped out and how they want the Jews to go back to their own countries, wherever that is. So I'm seeing more of the hate and the pro-genocide comments come from, in the animal rights movement, the pro-Palestine side. I can't see how anyone could argue at the opposite case, actually.
But maybe, don't you think you might show some acceptance, some diplomacy. It's like I accept when people call Jewish genocide Holocaust when this word comes, especially from Jewish. So okay, it is, you can be emotional, so I don't need to analyze the meaning of the word and the whole agenda in giving this name to to human genocide, because it is so wrong. And even Jewish intellectuals disagree, because Holocaust is always the trade with God, is paying, you victimize someone in order to obtain some reward. So also in this meaning is very wrong, because that means that Zionists, they offered the God 6 million of their lives. Okay, take it. It's our gift. It's our gift for you, because they paid for their country. Yes, this is the idea why they use this word Holocaust, referring to genocide, because they think that they paid. This is the currency. We are giving you 6 million of our people, our lives. This is our currency. We paid for our land. So now we have right to the land. This is Zionism, yes? And also, this is also one of the reasons why we shouldn't use the word Holocaust, referring to humans. And but okay, that's not the main point. Okay, so it was a very side topic, but very important. So
okay,
so
yeah, sure.
I
Well,
forgot my main what I wanted to say. Okay, so I am like accepting, like when I hear this Holocaust misusage. So maybe also you should be more tolerant when people are over emotional, because if they see those pictures of children starving to death. So I myself, many times I cursed Israel for what they are doing, for their actions. So maybe you should be like, okay, I understand.
well, let
People
me
can
tell.
be emotional because it's too terrible. It's like too much evil in it. It's too cruel.
Well, let me tell you why I've been against kind of emotional kind of rhetoric in the movement jumping on these things, is that it's gone horribly wrong each time that it's happened. It's just caused, when people emotionally jump on bandwagons and just kind of don't consider everything, or don't consider how harmful it is to implement it in this movement, it's screwed the movement over before. We saw this during COVID. We saw this during BLM. We saw this with the whole US presidency stuff in 2020. That could be a long ass story for another time. But all I'm saying is when vegans just jump on things with emotion and then start introducing it into the movement as just as a side result of some kind of horror that they've seen, and as a result of thinking emotionally, it's gone horribly wrong before. I mean, just a very quick example of that. In 2020, vegans were pressured, including animal rights organizations, into donating to BLM. And BLM spent that money on mansions and on bailing out murderers and criminals. So, and there's been no apology over this. So, I would just say this is probably why I'm very hesitant to accept emotional rhetoric in the animal rights movement. This is horrific. We should be talking about this as a movement. And if you're a vegan, you have to have this position on this and this position on that. And you're not a vegan if you don't vote for this person, or if you don't donate to this movement, and whatever it is. And we just need to keep the focus on the animals and keep these human socio-political affairs, distressing as they may be to watch, just aside from animal rights.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just maybe more understanding. Yeah, I am understanding, because myself, even like watching those videos from Gaza, I went through kind of breakdown, like nervous breakdown. I lost hope, because I like until that moment I believed that if we I was fighting always for a personhood. So I'm quite obsessed with etymology and with true meaning of the words and the mindset hidden behind those meanings. And because words are ideas, they are already concepts. Words are bringing concepts. So I'm very I love to analyze concepts behind words. So I am obsessed with several words, like for example Holocaust, but also person. Probably you are not aware how much manipulation, deliberate manipulation, was behind in the history of the meaning of the word person. And who created the meaning? The church. The church. And I read the whole like long document, like article by our professor of philosophy, about the evolution of the word person, because the person is the word which has a special goal. It's a bullet. This word is a bullet which has a goal to connect human with God, angel. So they selected these special features which will be connected the humans with gods, with angels, also demons. And on the other hand, there are biological objects without those features, which are animals and plants. So
right, yeah,
the word person is pure manipulation itself. And the philosophers, Christian philosophers, worked on this manipulation over centuries.
yeah.
Okay, so again I focus on some side topic, and then I forget what I wanted to say, why I said this. Okay, I know, now I remember. So my activism was quite I was focused on debunking those concepts behind our culture, Judeo-Christian culture, obviously, behind religions and culture in general, language also. And I always thought that if I find a way to prove similarity, analogy between humans and animals, if people start perceive animals like seem as persons, if they reject this whole manipulation, if they will start seeing their personhood, perceiving, I thought we will be close to full animal rights. And this situation in Gaza gave me like a serious breakdown, because I noticed that, okay, nobody has a problem to believe whether Gazan children are humans, are persons or not. But yet it doesn't prevent them from being slaughtered. So I thought, oh my God, there is no hope. So I had problems. So I was emotional. And well, I think we should be a little bit delicate when somebody becomes emotional, because those are things that normally humans are not supposed to be able to stand. And everybody reacts in different way. One will be mad, angry, aggressive. Another one will just suffer nervous breakdown, depression, or lose any hope or belief in humankind. But so I would suggest you just, okay, maybe this is somebody's first reaction. Maybe a couple of months later, this person will think again, will see other, I don't know, will look from the other perspective. Just, I think we should be maybe tolerant to each other.
Sure. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, look, I think we've said everything that we wanted to say on the stream. I really enjoyed having you on for the debate, and I think it was really some good back and forth. And I can see the comments. There's been lots of argument going on in there, so that's all good. That's what I always like as well. But Veganika, thank you for joining me today, and everyone go check her out. Subscribe to her channel. It's in the description below, and yeah, thank you for your time and for wanting to have this conversation.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you for your time, and thank you, the viewers also. Thank you for being with us till the end.
Awesome.
Thank you. Okay.
Great. That's it. We didn't have